Lego, what are you doing? Making a Canucks-related video just a few hours before the game, man. What are you doing? That's gonna reduce your viewership. That's gonna this, that's gonna that. Okay, I know. Stop it. Let's talk about the Canucks, because this is something that caught my eye the moment I woke up. And I woke up just a little bit ago because I was in Langley yesterday. So, long story about that. But overall, let's talk about Troy Stecher. Yeah, Stecher is in trade rumors right now. And I heard this because I was listening to TSN 1040. They published a little radio bit online. Of course, it was also broadcasted on the radio too. They had TSN insider Bob McKenzie on as a guest. And when they brought Bob McKenzie on, the guys at TSN asked McKenzie, "Hey, we've been hearing things about Troy Stecher. Have you been hearing them too?" And McKenzie was like, "Yeah, I have been hearing these things about Troy Stecher." What exactly are these things? Well, let's get into it right here. Pretty much, Troy Stecher is reportedly, there have been rumblings, there have been small pieces of information that have been leaking out of specific sources saying that Troy Stecher is kind of unhappy with top 6 minutes. And this is something that you could definitely see is realistic, because Troy Stecher was a top 4 guy, I believe he's a top 4 guy, playing in a third pairing kind of role, and overall that's pretty much supplemented by how the Vancouver Canucks added Tyler Myers in the offseason, who is a right-handed defenseman, and how the Vancouver Canucks have Chris Tanev, who is a right-handed defenseman too. Now, normally, this whole Troy Stecher being on the third pairing thing wouldn't actually happen, because in previous years, Tanev has been injured, we didn't have Myers, and the next other defender on the right side would be Alex Biega. So automatically, Troy Stecher was a guy who had a lot of top 2 ice time throughout the past few years, especially with Tanev being so injury-prone as he was. He's definitely been given a shot, Troy Stecher has. But early on in this season, Troy Stecher has been given those top 6 third pairing minutes with Jordy Ben, because Tanev has been healthy and because Myers has been playing with Edler, and honestly he's been doing it pretty well, I would say. But Troy Stecher is in a position now where the rumblings are coming out that he's not happy with third pairing ice time. It's certainly not something that he's used to. I still think he's a legit top 4 guy being played in a top 6 kind of role on a defensive core that got pretty good over the offseason, and it's pretty good now because Tanev is not injured, Edler is not injured, we don't have injuries yet, aside from Roussel, because that happened a while ago. But overall, this defensive core has been pretty okay. And Troy Stecher is in a position where, apparently, he's not happy with it. So this is where the trade rumor side comes to play here. It was brought up on TSN, the possibility of trading Troy Stecher, and Bob McKenzie actually had a little bit to say about that. The same low rumbles you've heard is what Bob McKenzie has heard as well. I think everyone has heard it, and he tried to figure out how much significance to attach to it. If they decide to trade Stecher, they'd be selling him as a top 4 D-man. And if someone is buying, they'll say he's a third pair D-man. Understandably, this radio bit got a whole bunch of traction on Canucks Twitter. A lot of people expressing their views, a very traditionally divided fan base expressing their different views. Honestly, this time it wasn't really all too different. The big consensus that I saw, which I have to agree with personally, is no, don't trade Troy Stecher. What are you doing? What are you doing? Troy Stecher is a Richmondite, a Vancouver Canuck in the blood. He's grown up watching this team. He has wanted to be a part of this team for years. He's a former season ticket holder, and he pretty much worked his way up in the BCHL, in the NCAA, finishing things up over there, signing with the Vancouver Canucks as a free agent, an undrafted guy making the NHL at 5'9" as a right-handed defenseman. This is a crazy story. And it's been a crazy story ever since Troy Stecher signed 3-4 years ago, whatever it was now. And sure, if he is unhappy with the ice time, that makes sense. But at the same time, I don't think Troy Stecher being upset with his minutes is going to be enough to warrant a trade request or something in that realm. because Troy Stecher's still a really important player on this team. He gets that PK time, he's doing pretty good things when he's out there. When Tanev eventually does get injured, because you know it's going to happen, Troy Stecher will be the guy to play with Hughes. That sounds crazy good. Stecher is a great puck-moving defenseman who has arguably the best work ethic on the team. The guy is the one who's always throwing up every time the preseason camps all start, and it's a big indicament of his work ethic. He's always working hard out there. And a guy like that is a guy you keep, especially with the way Bob is laying out the trade details over here. If they were to explore trading Stecher, if we traded Troy Stecher, a team is not going to give up more than what they would give up for a top 6 guy. And we know that Stecher is more than that. It's the old Tanev thing from a few years ago. We thought Tanev was so valuable in a trade scenario because Tanev was our best shutdown guy, a top 2 guy on this team, but on any other team he would have been a top 4 guy, which is why people didn't see him as valuable as Vancouver fans thought that he was. It's all relative to the team scenario. And there's going to be no team out there in the NHL who gives up assets that they would give up for a top 4 guy for Troy Stecher. Because Stecher is not a player who the consensus among the league is a top 4 player. Why? Because he's literally playing top 6 minutes in Vancouver. Vancouver is not an amazing hockey team, but Stecher is playing top 6 minutes over here, and we know he's a top 4 talent. It's just that in a trade scenario, it's going to be hard to convince a GM, hey, you're getting a legit top 4 defenseman. Oh, but why is he only playing in the top 6? Isn't he better than Tanev? So, this whole Stecher thing, I don't see it happening. I don't see us trading Troy Stecher, especially with the inevitable Tanev injury that's going to come on. I don't see Myers getting injured. The guy usually stays healthy, so I'll make a bet to leave him in the lineup. But Stecher's going to get time. He's going to get time in this lineup. Whether or not it's on the power play, he's already on that PK. Stecher is a hard-working individual, a Richmondite, a Vancouverite in the heart, and I think he's staying for a while. Sure, the cap kind of makes sense too, to get rid of that contract in order to free up some form of space, but we got other guys that can do that as well. So, I hope you enjoyed this video, social-9, and bye.